out of my head.
Hi. Today, I want to talk about Super Yuppers by WJSN Chokame and the psychology behind the Super Yuppers. If I'm being honest, I didn't give WJSN much of a chance at first. Not until I listened to Body by Daeung, if I'm being completely honest. I know a lot of people love them, but I just wasn't all that interested in what I was hearing. That has kind of changed as I've at the very least listened to all of their title tracks now and enjoy them more than I originally thought I would. Super Yuppers in particular really caught my attention as the concept really enamored me. I should clarify before we get into this that the Super Yuppers are kind of like their own homegrown police force, and I do not want to come across as supporting the actual police, who, at the very least in my own country, do much more harm than they do good, especially now. I also want to clarify that the music video heavily features Pepsi, which I think is a detriment to the video, and you should not support Pepsi. Boycott Pepsi. All of that being said, I do genuinely want to talk about the psychology behind this concept as well as kind of getting into why we like concepts like this in the first place. You know, superheroes, magical girls. We'll talk about wacky concepts as well a bit later. I think that superhero and magical girl concepts definitely appeal to an evolutionary sense of justice and morality within us. This sense is often undermined by the forces that are meant to actually enforce justice in our lives, who often just obstruct justice instead. I think this concept does a good job of balancing how women tend to protect in reality and throughout history while also empowering us in ways that we do not see ourselves represented much in reality. You know, women tend to do a lot of social means of protecting, a common term being that of tend and befriend, whereas men do a lot of the physical protecting. It is important to question, though, how much this is due to a lack of self-efficacy among women. If men are the ones portrayed and perceived as powerful, they are going to be the ones empowered to do things that require power. A lot of women, therefore, want to see women do what people think we can't. The one caveat is that we still want to perceive these powerful people as women. We want to see the social protection represented, which we do here. They are expressing themselves through making their own uniforms. They are taking calls, spreading the word, doing social justice, and doing it with other girls, all interspersed with very female-targeted humor. But they're also applying physical pressure throughout these scenes as if they can easily do and attain both. They represent their genres well. But it's also a very wacky concept, which I want to talk about a little bit. I think that incorporating absurdism is very important throughout a lot of K-pop. I think that absurdism, perhaps like nothing else, reveals a lot of truth about the human condition. That is why it is so philosophically relevant. It's also important to see through the eyes of a kid again to sort of patch together the truths you know now with the truths you knew then. Plus, we get dopamine from feeling surprise. So be absurd all you want and encounter the surprises that will help you heal a little every day. I also wanted to talk about the lyrics to the song a little bit as I think they reveal a lot about the concept as well. They sort of treat justice as their own identity, with them exclusively saying yes to everything, wherever, whenever, with a rule to not refuse. They are summoned by merely their name to help and refer to their name as Super Yuppers. They say that smiling gives them the energy to do it, reminding me of All Might in My Hero Academia, who notably states that he smiles in part to trick the fear inside of himself, though the Super Yuppers don't really acknowledge any fear. They acknowledge they can overcome obstacles, but they don't seem overly vulnerable. In fact, the subject kind of makes them into something greater than themselves. They use these similes, figurative language, saying they will appear like the wind or like a storm, as if a part of nature themselves and a strong one. They refer to having no worries and no tears as well as call themselves a guardian angel, specifically by the subject's side. They are simultaneously something powerful and almost spiritual while rooting themselves just as they are meant to be, by the side of the people. As such, they are able to provide a lot of comfort, saying not to feel burdened. And for them, a smile can be like currency, saying it's enough for them as someone who gives the subject strength. I think for them, their purpose is all-consuming, both work and a restorative process at the same time. This reminds me a lot of the idea of refilling one's creative well, when writers or artists consume media in order to find inspiration anew. For many, this is an integral part of the process, just as important as the creation itself. It's inspiring to feel the work itself is like that process, something that fills you instead of, in contrast, draining you. However, I worry about someone who thinks like this overworking themselves, not doing the self-care work to maintain levels of energy and satisfaction. That being said, it's meant to be a wacky concept. And I remember someone saying in a video that the difference between young adult and adult media is how we talk about death. I think that, perhaps, another marker of who we are talking to in media is how we talk about work and the idea of overwork versus self-care. Overall, I think Super Yuppers is an enthralling concept that harnessed my personal enthusiasm when I didn't expect that much from it. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope everyone has a Super Yupper somewhere inside of them. Bye.
뒤바퀴 시간